Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Capricorn. If Capricorn is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. Okay, let's get started. Oh, goodness. That was a little bit loud. A little bit jarring. Okay, let's see. What do we have going on here? What are these tea leaves telling us? And so our card for this reading tonight is the Prince of Swords. And this has to do with that, my favorite, creative spirit. That sharp mind. Intuitive, innovative, vast, and, just a million miles per hour. It also seems like there could be an unexpected change. And just kind of a feeling of seeking greater awareness. Okay. All right. If you haven't seen my videos, I like to just kind of turn this, take a look at all of these formations in different positions. Okay, so I want to start with this one. We have a horned, maybe deity, some kind of forest spirit. It is holding on to, it looks like a child, like maybe a baby, right? So not literal. Don't be worried about that. Definitely has to do with this kind of primordial forest spirit, that thing. Have you ever gone walking in the woods and it gets very quiet and there's just that eeriness of nature turning itself on you? I think this is why there are so many horror movies about being out in the woods, right? Because there are so many things that could go wrong. But it's not just that. It's not about disasters or injuries or whatever. There is a energy in nature, in abundant nature, where there's no human ethics. There are no conceivable morals. There's no morality, right? These are things that we use to navigate our own lives, right? They're constructs. Well, everything's really a construct, right? But out there in the wilderness, there are no real favors given to us. Each day is a blessing, of course, but it is also one split second away from, something, that thing, that lurker, that unknown, right? And, that can be scary, but it also really is the sweetness of life, or it's the thing that is in contrast to the sweetness of life. So, knowing that madness, that terrible, we think about the satyrs, the horned gods, even kind of the Cthulhu mythologies. Okay, things so terrifying we can't even imagine. Or this kind of concept of, this is my favorite one because this one trips me out, is like the Green Man, right? But looking out into kind of the a tree line when they're full of leaves, right? And just looking, and in our minds are prone to finding patterns in, you know, in anything. So seeing kind of these glimpses of what look like faces peering back at us, right? Made out of leaves, trees, brush, whatever it is. And so now we have this feeling. Now that we're here in this feeling, right? We also have this baby, this infant, newborn. Okay? And this, to me, represents your childhood, right? Your youth, your innocence, naivete, before you were conditioned, before anything bad happened that was perceivable, and kind of it is there still, kind of resting away with that wilderness thing. And I feel this great yearning, okay, to not just get back to it, but just commune with yourself, to let go of some of the stuff that has happened. Things that feel like they've happened to you. Things that feel like you've done, that was a mistake, you regret it, you can never fix it. Right? We all carry these things around. Said the wrong thing, hurt somebody's feelings, whatever it was. Told the waitress when she said, have a good meal, and you said, you too. And you think about it for years. No, I'm kidding. But now we turn it this way and we see, and now this one I love too, because it reminds me of one of my favorite archetypes, which is the Baba Yaga, or any Baba, really, any grandma. But in particular, we have this beautiful crone, right? And now we know, if you know the story of Baba Yaga, it's also not unsimilar to the witch and the old lady, the maybe, I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but the old lady, and we all know the Hansel and Gretel story, right? She was not just eating candy, let's say. Okay, so this archetype of the crone. Now, I've talked about this in other readings, and I'll kind of just go over it briefly in my own estimation, and probably, you know, this is kind of the thinking of a lot of, some, maybe, I don't know, practitioners of, the of witchcraft, or, low magic, folk magic, sympathetic magic, whatever, herbal magic, which I'm not really any of those. I mean, a little bit, but I'm just interested in these archetypes. So this is usually the crone, the old woman, is cast out because she is no longer physically producing children, right? Or she lives on the fringe of society because she is not unlike a medicine person, a shaman, a seer, a healer, usually in line with female health, right? Reproductive health, a midwife, probably, somebody who, lives near the forest or in the forest, who has creates tinctures and herbs and mixtures and all kinds of medicines and such. And so these mysterious arts are kind of wrapped up into this scary old hag, right? That if you go out there and she finds you, she's gonna get you, right? And these are kind of these stereotypes that were carried along. But really, this is so much a guide. This is kind of when you are in that wilderness, when you are in this spiritual wilderness, when you are looking for self-repair, self-exploration, some kind of assistance, somebody to help you maybe pass through gateways. And now we're talking about some different kinds of plant medicines, okay? These are also like, again, shaman, those who hold ritual, hold space for ritual, cleansings, okay? Those who have knowledge and relationships with the intelligences within plants, okay? If you are, now this is one thing I am, an animist, and this is somebody who believes that all things have consciousness. So plants have consciousness, and they affect us psychically. When we ingest them, they affect us. We can commune with them if they allow us to, right? And so on. So when we go out into these adventures, into the great unknown, these are some of the archetypes we're going to find. And these maybe are people who you will find helpful to you. So I wonder, seeing this archetype, I think of, it kind of, again, I said somebody living on the fringe of society, somebody who is not prideful, okay, is not living a life that is expected of them, but a life that they must live because it is their calling, right? This is where they know they belong. They go against all the difficulties because this is the only way for them. And I think that you are somebody who, and this goes back to this horned deity or whatever, and what I'm trying to say, archetype. And with the baby, I feel that you have probably lived a life where you're probably, very intelligent as a young child. You probably performed well in school. You were very likable, agreeable. Your family, you were like the star of your family. It wasn't hard for you to do well academically. Maybe you were in sports. Maybe you were in different clubs, whatever it was. You were busy. People probably told you that you seemed like you were an old soul. You were older than, most kids your age. You seemed more, mature, right? You were focused, driven, all of these things, okay? And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that you really do well in an orderly system. Something like school is somewhere where you just flourish, or at least you did, okay? And I think that once you kind of left that system, you grew up, you graduated, you maybe went to college, and you maybe did well there too. But once all of that was over, and you got out in the world, I'm looking, I see a little animal just pulling. It looks like it's pulling some kind of, I don't know, what is that? Like a chain, like it's pulling a boulder. And I have, let's see what else. And I have a dog who's howling at the moon here, a crescent moon. Okay, and then we have a person who's kind of standing on top of this hill, and it looks like they're reaching for, or they have maybe an airplane in their hand. It looks like a little airplane. Okay, so we'll start with this person pulling. Okay, so I feel like once you got out of school, it was harder for you to shine. The pressure, you know, really, the pressure of having to find your own way, your own meaning. Nobody could really tell you exactly what you have to do or what you should do. I mean, they might, you know, have some ideas for you, but you have so much more autonomy outside of the academic systems. So I feel like this has been it was a hard time for you. And, you know, unless you are some kind of ultra genius, you're not going to get all the gold stars and all that stuff. When you're 25 years old and nobody is like congratulating you for every little thing that you do, right? And which there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm not against encouraging children and giving them all of the effort awards and things. I think that's wonderful. But you know, I think that this was a difficult transition. And so this pride that you had, because you are exceptional, because you have done so well. Yeah, I think you still continue to do well, especially in your work. We've talked about this a lot, Capricorn. But that pride has been kind of something that is slowly sinking you, because you're never going to live up to that same feeling you had when you were 6 years old and you were miles ahead of everybody else you knew, everybody else in your class. You know, you were kind of trotted out in front of the family to like recite facts or, you know, sing songs or whatever it was, you know, at like Thanksgiving dinner. And it felt so good to have everybody in such awe of you all the time. So, what do we do? What happens when you get older? You maybe are kind of burnt out. Okay, you've been working so hard for all of your life. I think that sometimes it's a shift that comes quickly. This big change, and that's not unlike that kind of werewolf howling at the moon, right? All of a sudden there's kind of this rebound where you're trying to right yourself. I think a lot of times people get into deep depressions when they were excellent, smart, capable, excelling as children, and then they get older and yeah, they're above average, but so are a lot of people. There's a lot of competition. And you have to stay self-motivated to get things done in life, right? And it's hard. It's hard to always be on point. So I feel like, the depression can set in, habitual use of things, relationships get troubled, or frequent, or both, and problems with family members, resentments, just all kinds of things can come up, right? And so, hopefully that is a stage. You don't use this as your coping mechanism for very long, but sometimes, you have to have that little kind of sharp fall, I think. And then, okay, as that kind of pride is falling away, and this is kind of where I feel that you are coming together right now. And this is that Prince of Swords, still a very youthful energy, but climbing back out of it, shedding that old skin, right? Taking from the things that you've learned, the things that you realize that you love doing, and figuring out how are you going to apply that to your life now. What are the kinds of things that you want to do? You know, what do you want to create? What impassions you? Because you're brilliant, but you just have to find where to put it. Are you going to live a life of just doing monotonous work? I mean, you could, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But I don't know that you're not going to thrive necessarily, right? Could you do that along with doing your creative works and, you know, whatever you're impassioned by? Yeah, totally. You know, that's also a difficult balance. But I think because you probably did a lot of things that weren't that interesting to you, but you were good at them when you were younger. So maybe you already know how to do that. But I really feel more than anything for you, this is all about finding that thing that, and I see here, not unlike the person up here and this to me is that wanting to soar, going into those emotional spaces, going up into the cosmic, okay, into the spiritual God zone, right? Divine up here on the rim, okay? And then we have over here another person who is kind of holding their arms out, and I see it almost looks like a little plane again. And if you see right there, you can see it's flying. So to me, this says it just really is not even a question for you. You are meant to live the life that you want. Not just need, although, you know, that's also important to fulfill the things you need to do or, you know, need to sustain you. But I feel that you are definitely one of those charmed people who are going to find something that you love doing and it doesn't necessarily feel like work all the time. That being said, let me say this. Maybe you are older. Maybe you're into the, you know, third part of your life. Maybe you spent all your years doing stuff you just, you know, whatever. You made some money. Maybe you slow down and you're working. Maybe you're retired. But now you have the time to find something that you've always wanted to do. So please go and do it. Sometimes we just need permission, right? And I'm giving you that permission. Go and find that thing. And we all know what it is. I can think of my things that I want to do, you know. Fortunately, one of them is doing this. I love doing, you know, readings. I love connecting with people. But you know, there are other things too that they just pop into your mind. And maybe it takes a little bit because we do. That's another thing. We push it way down. And if that's the case for you, then here's the thing. I can't remember if I said this on another Capricorn reading, but I did a couple weeks ago on another reading. I don't know who it was for exactly. I can't remember. But a good exercise is to think back to when you were a child. What was the thing or one of the things that you used to do that you got lost in for hours? You know, was it laying down on the floor and drawing? Going out into I think the one that I talked about was I like to be with trees and looking at stuff. I would build little rivers in the dirt and use the hose. You know, I'd build dams and stuff. And I mean, for literally all day long, I would be out there building like waterways and stuff, little villages with sticks and different pine cones and whatever. And then, you know, the the big fun thing would be to turn on the hose and let the water go through. So maybe that's not what I'm going to be doing, but, you know, maybe finding something like building little models or, you know, working with clay or whatever it is. I like to garden, so maybe that's, you know, that I was gearing up to that. So we just, we can find things that make sense to the things that we're impassioned by as children, right? We just have to go back and think about it. What did we used to do? And how can we bring that forward into our life right now and enjoy it, right? Okay, we also have an E here. Just wanted to point that out. Lowercase e, so I don't know. Maybe it's a name, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a word that's important. I'm not sure. Okay, and I want to look. Let's see. Okay, so we have these little hearts. I have a little heart in here, here. So we have some little hearts, and I have a little heart here. We also have a P up here. So a P name, maybe. An E word, maybe. Those are important for some reason. And then it seems like we have multiple paths here. And I feel like maybe this is a person who has come in and out of your life. Almost like a relationship maybe that you have revisited. It could be with a friend, it could be with a family member, but I don't know. Is this the pride we were talking about? I don't know. But I think that you will be reconnecting with somebody again shortly. I don't think that there was any kind of big breakup or falling out or anything, but I think that your lives just kind of take you apart sometimes. And pretty soon you'll be getting back together. And that will, I think that's going to help fuel some of this. Kind of finding something for yourself. You know, yeah. So anyways, I want to go ahead and thank you so much for spending this time with me. It is always such a pleasure to be able to bring these messages to you. If you'd be so kind as to like the video, it helps us get into the algorithm, and you know, the algorithm kind of decides everything. So we want to make it happy. Any kind of engagement helps. We if you do the liking, watching other videos, your other placements, if you watch the video from the beginning to the end, let's see what else, sharing it on other social medias, let's see. This thing at the end gets longer and longer every time. Subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, think about doing that. You can hit the little bell. It'll let you know when the next videos are coming out. And speaking of subscribing and subscribers, I want to congratulate my husband, Paul, over at Dove and Serpent Tarot. They just hit 100K over there, so a big applause to them. He is so talented. I mean, it just, I'm constantly in awe of him. Not just with his tarot readings, but he's such a brilliant person, a wonderful father, wonderful and lovely partner. And I don't know, he's just truly a bright light in this often dark world. Really, I mean, I laugh, but it's true. I mean, and if you've watched his readings, you know this. You know, he is not different, you know, in real life. He's definitely who you see on there. And so I feel so lucky to be part of this journey with him. And, you know, if you haven't watched them, please go check them out. Give them some likes, subscribe, and yeah, congratulations, Seven Serpent. So other than that, if you want to leave a comment, please do that too. I read them all. I'm just going to stop saying I'm behind, because I am, but it's because I like to read each one and reply to each one. So, some days it just takes, sometimes it takes me a few days to get back. But, I will. And please come back and check, see your comments. I will answer you, I promise. And yeah, thank you. We'll talk again real soon.